Hello, congratulations for being able to come access this information. My name is Julius Meme, and I go by the name Emily Swap. I run a channel, a YouTube channel, by the name Emily Swap Enterprises, the home for motivational and inspirational services. Today, I am making a presentation on a very important topic that is a life changer to many people's lives, and especially to anybody who has undergone through a certain training or is undergoing through a certain course for the purposes of either progressing to the next level or for the purpose of exiting into the job market. The title of this presentation is Excellence in Examinations. Every person wants to excel in examinations. And that's why some people are out to use any means to succeed in an examination. So, I want to welcome you wholeheartedly for this presentation, and especially if you are a pupil, you are a student, or you are a candidate who is preparing for a certain examination. In this presentation, we are going to look at examination at 3 levels. The first level is on what you are supposed to do to prepare for an examination that is on the following day. Then we are going to discuss about what we are supposed to do during an examination. And lastly, we are going to look at what you are supposed to do after an examination is over. Let's commence by defining an examination. What is an examination? An examination is simply a tool that is used by either or by both a student, that is the candidate, and the trainer, the lecturer, or the teacher, or the instructor, for a number of reasons. Number one, an examination is very important to a candidate because it helps the candidate to be able to know his or her level of achievement in the training that he or she has been going through. Secondly, it helps the student or the candidate to be able to know whether he or she is ready for the next step or not. And it is for that reason that a student who is sitting for an examination is supposed to ensure that the examination reflects his or her abilities or competencies or level of skills. That is for the same reason that a student is not supposed to use any other means, any alternatives to score grades in an exam that do not portray his or her level of competence. Why? If you get a grade that is not yours, for example, you score a distinction in a training, in a diploma course or a certificate course, or you score first class honors in a bachelor's degree, what that means is that your ability, your capability, your potential, and your level of excellence is a distinction or is a first class. And therefore, if the purpose for you going through the training and doing the exam you are going to sit for is for the purpose of identifying your career pathway, it means that if you have gotten the wrong grade, you have been assigned the wrong score because you cheated in an examination, it simply means that you are going to end up doing the wrong course, a course that is beyond your ability, a course that is beyond your level of competence, a course that you are not going to manage. If you are exiting into the job market and you have gotten a grade that does not portray your ability or your level of competence, it simply means that when you go to the place of work, your employer will take you as a very excellent kind of staff who will be assigned duties that are beyond what you can be able to do, because you have a grade that portrays that you can, and that grade is not a reflection of your ability, and therefore when you are assigned that kind of a job, you are not going to perform it well. And then what will happen? Your employer will sack you. You give everybody a room to wonder whether the grade that you had is really yours. That is why you should not cheat in an examination. And therefore, as a candidate, when you are preparing to sit for an examination, it is good that you go into that examination prepared to write in that exam or to do in that exam what you are capable of doing. Remember, you have already been able to portray that you can. I really congratulate you as a student if you have reached a time to do an exam. If you have been able to reach a point where your trainer, your lecturer, or your teacher feels that you are ready for an examination, it simply means that you have all what it takes to succeed in that exam. It means that you have the capability and you have the potential because your teacher, your instructor, your lecturer, your institution has evaluated you, has assessed you before, and they have seen that you can. And therefore, I want to congratulate you for reaching a point where you are about to do your exam. You have the best potential. You have the best capabilities. You can press your chest and say, I can. Get confidence. You have already been making it. By the virtue of going through your training successfully, by the virtue of going through your course successfully, you are already a victor. Why use a shortcut? You can tell yourself, I can. And therefore you need to have confidence. Otherwise, you would have dropped on the way. You would have left the course. You would have left the training. But here you are. You are going for an exam. Congratulations. Tell yourself, I can. And you go to that exam to assess your ability. You have you've been reading. You have been revising. You have worked with your trainers. You have worked with your lecturers. You have worked with your teachers. You have been asking them questions. You have been doing assignments. You have been doing examinations, internal examinations. And now you are coming to a point when you are doing an exam that is going to assess your level of competence or skills or abilities. And therefore, why bother? Why worry? You can. You have what it takes to be the best. Because your assessors and your trainers have seen you are able. And therefore, what you just need is to go to that exam and do it with confidence. You might be wondering and thinking or asking yourself, am I ready for this exam? Yes, you are ready. Yes, you are ready. And the examination is just a tool, that's what I've said, that is supposed to help you be able to measure or assess your level of acquisition of a certain skill or knowledge or competence. And therefore, sit for that exam with confidence, write it and score what you are capable of scoring. Because if you have been reading, you have been revising, you have been working with your trainers, you have been working with your teachers, you have been doing all what is required, why use a shortcut? And even if maybe something happened on the way and there is something you need to do, why worry? Go and do that examination with confidence. Write what you know. The grade you are going to score should be a reflection of your capability. After all, there is nothing wrong with scoring a certain grade. What is wrong is to score a grade that is not yours. So an exam is not something to threaten you. It is not a monster. It's not something to fear. It is just a tool to assess whether you have been able to achieve the skills, the knowledge or competencies that were intended for you or not. If the results come out and you find that you did not really score what you expected to score, if you know you worked very hard, you worked very well, you worked smart, that is your grade. Be happy and comfortable with it. And if you know you erred somewhere, after that examination, there is nothing wrong to take a second step, take a second chance, correct the errors you made, and move ahead with the exam again or with the training again. So that is the purpose of an examination. It is not there to intimidate you as a candidate. It is there to assist you be able to identify your ability, your level of skills acquisition, and your level of knowledge acquisition in the area of your training. Then, to the examiners, that means to the trainers, to the lecturers, to the teachers, the exam is a tool that helps them be able to see whether, or be able to identify or determine whether the students they have been training have been able to acquire the knowledge, the skills and the competencies that we expected them to acquire. And therefore it gives the teachers, the trainers, some feedback to help them be able to know whether they taught the course well or whether the methods they were using to train a set of candidates were good or not, were effective or not. And therefore, it is also good for them to get feedback that really portrays the capabilities, the potential of their students. If they get a wrong impression that the students are excellent when they are not, they will not be able to make any changes or any adjustments to improve their methods of delivery. And therefore, it is also very important for the trainers and the lecturers and the instructors and the teachers to ensure that the students do the examination the way they are supposed to do and adhering to the rules that are required. So that they are able to get the feedback that can help them also become even good teachers and be able to assist the students become better students. After all, before that main examination that we are about to see before, you have been doing other examinations and other assessments before, and therefore you should not worry at all. And after all, you have passed very many examinations before. Even being alive, it was an examination, and you were able to prove that you can. That's why you are alive today. The time when you were hungry, you are feeling like eating something, you went and looked for something to eat, and therefore you did that exam and you ate. You satisfied your anger, you satisfied your hunger, you satisfied your thirst. That was an exam. And life is a series of examinations. Anything you do, you are being tested. And when you come out of that status victoriously, you are a successful student, you are a successful candidate. So there's nothing to fear or to worry. Be yourself. Good. Now, if the examination is on the following day, what are you supposed to do? Number one, familiarize yourself with the requirements for that exam. Liaise with your trainers or with your lecturers so they can inform you what you are supposed to do or what is required from you for that examination. Number two, ensure that you prepare all the materials that will be required from you. If those materials will not be provided for you during the examination. For example, if you know that you are supposed to do that exam by writing, Ensure you have adequate pens, at least 2 pens. Don't go to an exam with a single pen because it can fail you. Ensure you have a pencil if the exam requires a pencil. Ensure you have a calculator if the exam, based on the experience you have gotten before during your training, carry a calculator if the calculator will be required. If there are some computations you are supposed to do in an exam, if you are supposed to draw, carry the tools that are required. And therefore, and then before the exam, you are supposed to ensure that you have all the materials or you have all the tools that are required. Kindly note, don't go to an examination room with what is not required. If you are in doubt, always ask from your lecturers, from your trainers, from your teachers. So, once you have identified the requirements for that exam, you have put together the materials or the tools that you are going to require. Then the next step is to ensure that you have identified the room or the venue from where you will be taking the exam from. Don't wait for the exam time and then you are running to and fro trying to look for the venue. Look for the venue a day before the exam or a number of hours before the exam. If the exam is in the afternoon, ensure that in the morning session you are able to identify the venue. Once you have been able to identify the venue, then ensure that the next thing you do is to be very sure of the time when the examination will be done. Be very sure of the time when the exam will be done so that you can be in the examination room on time. And several minutes or even an hour before the exam if the room is empty or if the room is free. So ensure that you identify the venue where the exam will be done from and that you have also identified the time when the exam will be done. Where will you get this information from? This information can be gotten from the timetable for the exam. If you are doing a certain course, before the exams are done, there will always be a timetable for the exam that will be released by your examiner or by your institution. And therefore, familiarize yourself with that timetable before you commence the exams. The timetable may even have the requirements. The timetable will indicate the time. Maybe the venues may not be indicated. However, the day for the exam, the date will be there, the name of the unit will be there, and also the time or the duration will be there. And therefore, familiarize yourself with that timetable. Good. Once you have familiarized yourself with the timetable, you have identified the venue, you have known the time, you have put together the materials that you require for the examination. You have also identified the requirements for that unit or for that exam. Then what next? Next is to ensure that you put certain items in place before the day for the exam. One of them, and the most important one, is a watch. Every examination has some time. It has a duration. Ensure that you have a certain watch, like this one of mine. Don't rely on the wall clocks that are placed there in the examination room by the examiners or by your institution, because it may not even be there. Therefore, ensure that you have a watch with you. Then the next thing that you need to have is to have an handkerchief. Have an handkerchief with you. The one which you are going to be using, in case you are sweating, you can use it to erase your sweat or rub your sweat. You may want to sneeze. Don't go and sneeze on the paper. So, an handkerchief is very important. Then when you go to the exam also, ensure you identify what you are going to wear. Don't wear what is not required. Don't wear some kind of attire that will expose your nakedness, your nudity, that will make people to be uncomfortable with you. And also don't wear heavy clothing if the rules state that you should not wear heavy clothing, like heavy jackets and all these other kind of dressings that are not important for the exam or that are prohibited. And therefore, familiarize yourself with the kind of attire you are supposed to wear. Then, organize all what you are going to require and place them at a certain point where you are going to get them once the day for the exam or the time for the exam comes. So these are the important things you are supposed to do the previous day. But the last thing is to ensure that you have adequate sleep the previous day. Don't overeat all the way to the morning session. Don't overeat the entire night. You need time to relax. Your brain is not a machine that can work without rest. Ensure that you take rest and you sleep well. Sleep adequately. Don't overeat. You have been reading after all. You have been reading all this while you have been preparing. So why are you worrying the last minute? So ensure you have adequate sleep. And also ensure that you eat what you normally eat. Don't eat things that you are not used to. Because if you eat things that will make you start running all the way during the last minute, running to the toilets up and down, it will inconvenience you. Eat what you are used to eat, drink what you are supposed to drink, then sleep well, sleep comfortably. Good. Clap yourself, clap for yourself if you have gotten that information. Now, you have slept and it's the day for the exam. What are you supposed to do? On the day of the examination, ensure that 1, you have dressed as required. Then, once you have dressed as required, go through your requirements again. Go through the tools and the items that you had organized the previous night to use for the exam. Confirm that everything is in place. And then go to the examination room, not at the time when the exam is beginning. Go to the examination room 1 hour before the exam, if the room is empty, or at least 30 minutes to the exam. What are you supposed to do while you're in that examination room? Relax. Don't discuss. Don't start asking questions concerning the exam that you're about to do in the next few minutes. Just relax and relax. Let your mind sober. That time when you are seated in that examination room is very important because it will help you to relax. So just relax. Don't discuss with the rest of the students on anything concerning the unit or the exam that you're about to do. Just relax. On your seat, where you're supposed to sit. Just relax. But you can be thinking a little bit about what you have been reading, but not intensely. It's just to help you remind yourself a few things. Don't carry anything into the examination room that is not required. Don't carry anything. Don't carry any piece of paper. Don't allow anybody to tell you that I'll tell you what you do in the exam. Anybody who helps you or assists you cheat in an exam is worse than a murderer. That person is preparing you for death. Because if you go to the job, as I have said, and you have gotten the wrong grade, you've been given a job you cannot be able to perform, you will fail, you will be sacked. Anybody who uses a shortcut or who advises to use a shortcut, that is a destroyer of your life. That is a predator who is out to destroy you. So don't carry anything into the exam for the purposes of helping you if it is not required for that examination by the examiners. Now, when you are relaxed and you are there, the paper will be placed on your desk. When the paper is placed on your desk, don't turn it upside down or don't change the way it has been placed. If the examiner or the assessors or the invigilators or the supervisor has placed that exam on your paper, don't touch it if you have not been told to touch it. Just relax. And then when you are told, turn it upside down, don't rush into opening it. Just go through that exam, what is written on top. There are a number of things you should check. The first thing you should check is to confirm the course for that exam. Confirm the course name. If you are doing a course, for example, by the name Certificate in ICT, confirm that that exam is indicated that this is an exam for certificate in ICT. If your course has a course code, confirm that the course code in that paper, in that booklet, is yours. If, for example, you are doing certificate in ICT and the course code is supposed to be 1920, confirm that that paper is written certificate in ICT and it is followed by the course code 1920. That will help you know that you are having the correct paper, but not yet. The next thing is to confirm is the level of the exam. What level? Is it diploma? Is it certificate? Is it bachelor's? Is it master's? Confirm the level. If you are doing it for the first module, if the exam is for first module, confirm that it is module 1. If it is second module, confirm that it is module 2. If it is third module, confirm it is module 3. If it is for first year, confirm it is first year. If it is for second year, confirm. And the same goes on. So confirm the level. Once you are sure that the exam you are having is for your course and the course code is correct and the level is correct, then the next thing you need to do is to read the instructions there. Don't rush, don't open the paper, go through the instructions. If the first instruction states that you have this number of minutes to go through the question paper or to prepare yourself, please go through the paper during that time indicated. If the instructions are indicating that you have 10 minutes to go through the instructions and through the question paper, do it. Respect that. So go through that question paper. As you are going through the question paper on the time allocated, try to ask yourself, what are the requirements for each question and what kind of answers do you have? Why is this important? It is because when you go through that question paper, you will be able to know which questions are simple for you and which ones seems to be complex. So that you organize your questions and you begin answering or attempting the questions that are simple. And then those ones which seem to be complex can wait. So during these minutes when you are going through the instructions and also the questions, use that time also to organize your questions, how you are going to answer or attempt the questions, so that you begin with the simplest for you and you end up with the one which seems to be complex for you. You will be surprised that your mind will even open up as you begin with the simple questions and you are going towards the complex ones. By the time you are reaching those which you are seeing as if they are complex, your mind will have opened because of being preparing and you'll be able to attempt even that question that looked to be hard in a very easy way. So, go through that question paper or that booklet first. Then organize yourself. Then go also through those other instructions that are indicated there. Ensure that you are familiar with the total time that is allocated. Every exam has a duration, and the duration is allocated on the cover page. So, if the exam indicates that this exam will be done for 3 hours, and the number of questions that you are supposed to do are, for example, 80 questions, what are you supposed to do? If you are supposed to do all the 80 questions, and the time allocated is 3 hours, then divide 3 hours by 80 questions, so that you are able to know how long you are going to take in each question. Don't overdo one question at the expense of the others. If your booklet contains 80 questions, but there is an instruction on top which says that do 5 questions. Based on that criteria of simple to complex, pick your 5 questions. Then divide the time that has been allocated. If it is 3 hours, divide the 3 hours with the 5 questions. That will tell you how long each question should take. But remember, as you divide those 3 hours, remember to spare at least 10 minutes to help you go through what you have written and make any minor corrections where necessary. So the last 10 minutes should be to review what you have been writing. Don't make a lot of changes if you are not sure of what you are doing. Just go through your statements, check whether they can be read, check whether they are legible, check whether you answered all the questions required, check whether you marked them properly and all that. So, don't divide the entire 3 hours with the 5 questions. Give each question, for example, 30 minutes. That times 5 will be 150 minutes. That means you can do every question for 30 minutes. And then you will have 30 minutes at the end. So, from these 30 minutes, distribute even 20 to go through the instructions and to prepare for the exam or to prepare the way you're going to answer, and then the last 10 minutes can be to preview your answers. Good. Once you are ready and you are set, now open your question paper or get your booklet if you are supposed to answer the questions on a separate booklet. Get the booklet and on the cover page indicate the questions that you have done or that you are going to do. Indicate very clearly. So once you have made a decision on how you are going to start your questions and you have been fully aware about the instructions for that exam and you are sure that this exam is yours, then the next thing is to ensure that you answer those questions as you're supposed to do. So, what are you supposed to do when answering each question? Every question has an instruction. Ensure that you understand the instruction very carefully. Read between the lines. If you have chosen question 1 to begin with, and you are attempting question 1, when you are reading that instruction for that question, read it between the lines. Check the keyword. The keyword. What are some of these keywords? These keywords include define, list, state, explain, discuss, describe, draw, highlight, elaborate, distinguish, differentiate, and all these other type of terms or this type of terms that we usually find in what we call Bloom's taxonomy. So, if the question reads, list, for example, list 2 types of personal computers. List 2 types. Don't discuss, don't describe, don't distinguish, don't explain. You are being told to list. To list is just to mention them. So if the question, for example, says list 2 types of personal computers, just mention them by their names. In other words, what I'm saying is, in every question, there is an instruction there and there is a keyword. Ensure before the exam, you are able to know the requirements per each keyword. So that if it is defined, you know what defined means. If it is list, you know what list means. Don't define where you are supposed to list. Don't discuss where you are supposed to state. So, ensure you identify the keyword. And then, when you are answering that question, label it properly. Write it very well. If list types of computers or list types of personal computers is question number 1A, ensure that in your booklet, you write very clearly. Question 1A. You write the answer there. Simply, what I am saying is if your question paper has sections, ensure that you write your answers in that booklet clearly. Indicate the section, indicate the question, indicate the specific question number, and then answer there. Be organized. Don't write question 1A in page 1, then you write question 1B in page 10. You write question 1C in page 50. No. Be organized and systematic. So ensure that you label your booklet properly. Ensure that you label your booklet properly. And you write your question numbers properly that you have attempted. Then if on the cover page you are supposed to write the questions you have done, write there. Therefore, once you have gone through your questions, you have attempted the questions, remember to always confirm the time. Based on there you assign your questions. Don't want the question more than what you intended. If every question is you have decided to do it for 20 minutes, ensure that you do it for 20 minutes. Once you are sure that you have done what you are able to remember, move on to the next question and label it properly. If there is something that you feel you are not able to remember, don't waste time thinking so much about it when there's another question which is waiting. Just leave a space for that section or for that question and move on to the next. That is very important for you, for time management. Once you have attempted all your questions and you have labeled them properly, then the next thing that you need to do is to use the last few minutes to now go through your entire answers. Find out what was required. Find out what was needed. Ensure that you are reading or you are writing is legible. Confirm that your writing is legible so that the examiner who will be marking cannot have problems. Because if your writing is poor, if somebody cannot understand what you have written, even if what you have written is correct, you will not get a score. Now, when you are writing answers per question, also confirm the marks that have been assigned for that question. If you are told this question is supposed to give you 2 marks, it simply tells you don't write so much on it. The amount of the quantity you should write for a question should be dictated by the keyword and the marks allocated. If the keyword is discuss and the marks listed on the side there are 10, that tells you need to write adequate points that can give you 10 marks. If it is 2 marks, it means you are supposed to be brief in your answers. Therefore, look at the marks allocated per question, per item, so that you are able to know how much you should write and how many points. That is very important. The marks allocated per each item. Once you have been able to do your questions as required, you have been able to attempt them as required, you have reviewed your answers to find out whether they are correct. Good. Then, hand over your booklet. But ensure that on the cover page for that booklet has your index number or your candidate number properly indicated. And that it has your official name. Now, this important information is in fact even supposed to be written before you start the exam. Because if you wait to write the name and the index at the end, you might forget. And therefore, it is advisable that before you commence that exam, you write your details properly on top. Indicate your index number or your candidate number, and also indicate your official name properly. And if you are supposed to indicate the course, indicate if the course is not labeled there. If you are supposed to indicate the name of the institution on top there, indicate the name of your institution there. This information may be provided for you in the question booklet. Therefore, on the cover page of that booklet, the answer booklet, fill out the details that you're supposed to fill. And if those details or those spaces are not provided for, just ensure you indicate the name of the institution if it is missing, your index number or your candidate number, and your official name and the level where necessary. Confirm this information also before you hand over your paper. Then once you hand over your paper, once you have handed over your paper to the right person and the right way, then leave the examination room. When you have left the examination room, don't discuss with the rest of the students the content of the exam that you have already done. Because you have already given your examiner the answers. Even if you discuss with your fellow students out there, they will not do anything and will not change anything. What you will only be doing is to add stress to yourself. Especially if you realize that other students are writing, mentioning the answers that they gave, and you did not give that answer yourself. That is a real discouragement. It will discourage you. So once you do an exam, just forget about that exam and prepare for the next examination. Wait for the verdict to come out. Once the verdict has come out and the results have been released, just appreciate those results and then seek for advice on what you can do next. The grade that you get after you have done the exam is not a do or die grade. That is a grade which informs you about your level of achievement in the course that you are pursuing. Therefore, appreciate that grade. Appreciate the grade you have gotten and clap for yourself because you did it. It doesn't matter the grade that you have gotten. What matters is how you treat yourself, how you appreciate that grade, and what you want to do with that grade. So whether you get a lesser grade or you get a higher grade, it doesn't matter. What it matters is how you are going to take that grade and what you are going to do after that. If you know that the grade which you got it after having done all what you are supposed to have done, and you are very sure that that is your potential, and that's the best you could have done, then don't think of repeating that course of that training again. Just appreciate that grade and then ask yourself what you can do next. That is what we call career progression. After this level, what next? Follow me in my next presentation where I'll be explaining about what you can do after an examination is over, or after an exam, after results have been released. How can you be able to identify what you can do after that level of training? Thank you very much for listening to me and for listening to this presentation on what you are supposed to do to excel in your examinations. I hope that you have been able to learn a lot. I hope that you'll be able to apply what you have learned today in your examinations. And for that reason, I want to wish you success in your forthcoming examination. You are able, go for it, go for it, go for it, and you will emerge as a victor. Let's meet again. You can follow me in my channel, YouTube channel, by the name Emily Swap Enterprises. Just log into YouTube and then search for Emily Swap Enterprises. And from there, you'll be able to get my other presentations. Thank you very much. May you be blessed and go out there and do that exam successfully. God bless you. Bye.